All right, you guys, welcome back to another awesome episode here at the SweetLife Entrepreneur Business Podcast. And I am visited today by none other than Heather Sager. And what we're talking about is something that's so important. I know many of you guys have questions about, so we are immediately diving into how to fill your programs using guest speaking. So Heather, thank you so much for being on the show today. Give yourself an awesome intro. An intro that you deserve because you are very powerful at getting people amazing results, and tell everybody about what you do.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for the chance to serve your audience today and talk about pressure on an intro.
I'm being honest. Look, I will say behind the scenes. So I have followed Heather on Instagram, and it's one of those things where you've been connected and a little bit connected, but not completely connected. And I knew that you guys needed to hear from Heather. So very excited to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So as April said, I'm Heather Sager. So I'm a speaking coach for online entrepreneurs. And essentially what that means, I always joke that I teach people how to do the thing that most people fear more than death, which is public speaking. And in the online space, it's kind of funny because we think about public speaking back, if y'all worked in corporate ever, how you think about getting up in front of a group and giving a presentation or teaching a workshop, or we think about speakers as the people who live their life on the road at conferences, on big stages. And none of those things seem to really fit in the online space of coaches and course creators and online entrepreneurs. And what I like to remind people is the fact that as business owners, we speak to we speak to people every single day. So we are already speakers. It's not like a label that we just all of a sudden adopt. We're already speakers. And so what I do is I teach people how to do it with intention and purpose. So what they speak about actually connects back to not only what they're passionate about, but also what they do in their business. I think your voice has the potential to be a magnet for other people, for them to go, ooh, not only do I like her, I want to learn more from her. And the more that you get out and use your voice on different platforms, the more you pull people back with you, that they'll want to join your programs and hang out with you more and buy from you. So that's what I do. My background is, like many entrepreneurs, is in corporate, where for years I spoke on stages around the world as a corporate trainer, where I taught actually entrepreneurs in the medical space. So doctors and their teams, I taught them customer service and sales, two very taboo topics in the medical space.
Right.
Let me tell you, as a 27-year-old kid, it felt like teaching doctors how to sell, how to talk about what they did, how to talk to their teams, how to talk to their patients. That was an intimidating task at hand. So I had to learn how to speak in a very different way. I had to learn how to be influential and persuasive with an audience who was highly skeptical of my experience, my age, everything about me. And so that's where I got my big girl chops around speaking. That's where I had to fight through all my own insecurities about I always talked about being like a baby nugget on a stage, being an unexperienced or inexperienced professional. I had to work through all of those mental issues we go through. I had to do that in a very highly publicized, highly criticized space. But I did a damn good job. And I realized that while I loved my job as a trainer, what I really loved was teaching people how to use their voice for good. And I got really good at storytelling. I got really good at the body language and the hand gestures and all those things that come with speaking that are more than just the message. And I started getting people asking me, could you teach me how to do that on a stage? Or could you teach me how to lead a workshop? And I found all of my free time in corporate was teaching my peers and other businesses how to do what I was doing. And at some point I was like, I don't want to do this for anybody else anymore. Why don't I just do this full time? So I made the leap, like many do, which is let me start my own business and help other people do the thing that I love. But here's the kicker. It wasn't just about speaking. It was about speaking with purpose. Because I think speaking is like gasoline on a fire. I think speaking is one of the best marketing strategies that we can use in our business. And I think people treat it as a skill, but speaking is actually a strategy.
So many things that I want to say right now about about all those things. First of all, now you guys know why I wanted Heather on the show.
Fire.
Right. Fire. That was like, okay, we can just end it. Just go work with Heather and she's going to help you be just this insane speaker. really you said so many things though. So as business developers, and obviously that's what we do at the SweetLife company, we help people develop their programs and we help them develop life-changing programs and offers and these amazing services, right? And one of the things that they're always asking about is, but how do I separate myself from other businesses that are delivering these same type of results besides doing it within the framework of my program? Like, how do I stand out? And it always comes back to taking the authority on what you know and stepping out and speaking about it. So that's the first thing. And I can't wait to dive into the strategies we're going to talk about here today on the show. But something else that you said that it's so true is that you're speaking to people all the time. It doesn't always have to be a webinar or an actual live event, but as an online entrepreneur, when you have the opportunity to actually speak to somebody and take them on a journey that you have pre-crafted, right? It is a skill. And that's how you get people to follow you that are the right people. And I want to just kind of pause for a second saying, even if you're listening to the show and you're like, well, speaking doesn't fit into my business model, listen to what Heather's saying, because you're already speaking. So let's make it so you don't suck at it, right? Let's make every single moment that you are having honestly, the privilege. Just like I just feel very blessed and privileged that people listen to the podcast, right? We have all of us, when somebody's listening to what we have to say, it is a very unique opportunity and a privilege to be able to speak to these people. So what we say and how we say it is incredibly, incredibly important. So I just love everything that you said there. And I appreciate how direct you are about the importance of this. So you help established business owners really take the lead in doing so by speaking and increase what I love, of course, is the sale of their programs. And talk about how you do that. You have a very special method, and I'm going to tout Heather's method here for a second. By the way, if you all don't have a method, we want you to have a method to make you known and to gain the trust of the people you're leading. Talk to us about your method and what is that called, and can you guide us through your method today?
Yes, 100%. I love methods. We were sharing our love of frameworks and methods and just easier ways to help people understand what it is you do, right? We all think things make sense in our own heads, but really our own heads are a very special place that only we understand. So we have to be able to articulate them. So my signature method that I teach inside my program, Speak Up to Level Up, it's where I teach online course creators and coaches how to leverage speaking in a way that's going to grow their business. We walk through something I call the Speak for Authority method. And the reason why we call it the Speak for Authority method is every business owner has different goals related to speaking. Some people might be like, hey, I want to get paid to speak $10,000 for a keynote or $40,000 for a keynote. That's one strategy. But when it comes to speaking, there are several strategies that you can apply. One can be growing the revenue in your program, so selling from stages. Another could be driving leads to your social media accounts or leads to your list or leads to your offers. Another one could be just not peeing your pants when you go live on a platform. It could just be growing your confidence. But I think throughout all of it, speaking is like a business card for your business. And all of these, they're authority boosting activities that when you grow your authority, you have the ability to charge more, get on better stages, network with the people that you want to network with, collaborate with the business partnerships you want to have. When you have authority, which is clout, where people see you as the go-to in your field, it seems like doors open naturally. So if you aren't known, if people don't know who you are, you could be the best at what you do, but until other people point at you and say, she knows what she's doing, or he's an expert in this. By the way, you don't say you're an expert. You let other people do that for you. Until that moment comes, it doesn't really matter how good your program is. You have to be able to articulate it, make it sound like a big deal, and get other people talking about it. And that's where growing your authority becomes a really important thing.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So talk to us about this Speak for Authority method. And I love how you preface it by saying that the reason why it's so important is because all these goals are absolutely important. And they do apply probably to every single person listening to this show. So what is the first part of this method? Where does somebody start when they want to take action on this?
Yeah, you're going to love this one because this goes right up your alley of what you teach, which is number one is nail your messaging. What do I mean by that is you have to nail who are you talking to? what do you have to offer, and how do you talk about those core offerings, your messaging. So what's interesting is the first time I taught my program, when I started working with groups of entrepreneurs versus one-on-one, I started by going, let's create your talk. And I would start extracting ideas out of their head and formulating a signature talk with them. And what I realized pretty quickly was, oh my gosh, this was the first time they were vocalizing their ideas. And some of them didn't even have their programs fully formatted or organized in a way that really got people results. So I found out, you know what, when people start moving from just writing down their ideas or drawing out their ideas, when they start articulating their ideas, that's when they realize, oh, this either makes sense or it doesn't. So step number one, nailing your messaging means that you are not just thinking off, like speaking off the cuff or winging it all the time. Here's this big myth that happens. A lot of times when we see experts or we see influencers on a podcast or on a video or on Clubhouse, we think, oh, they're just so naturally gifted. But here's the thing, these people have been talking about these things over and over and over and over again. They know what they're talking about. It's not by chance, it's on purpose. Now, sometimes it's by chance because they've just done it enough where they don't know, but they have discovered what their core talking parts are. You have to understand what should you and what should you not be talking about to lead people into your business, not lead them to other people's businesses. Like there is a difference. You can talk about a lot of things, but if you don't have your messaging nailed, you could be providing a lot of education, but then serving them up open doors to have other people help them because they don't realize how it connects back to you.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to totally put you on the spot here.
Yes, please.
Because everybody's saying like, oh my gosh, shoot, am I doing this? Because everybody wants to be out there and sharing information and great value. Can you give us an example of how sharing some information in a particular way may lead somebody to go work with somebody else other than
I'll give you me as an example. Okay,
oh, good. So, yeah, thanks.
I talk about speaking, right? And I want you to imagine speaking, this is like this giant ocean of information. It's in the marketing ocean. There's so many different things we can speak about. And 1 or 2 times I did podcast episodes or interviews where people are like, oh, speaking on camera, Heather, will you come talk about getting over your fear of the camera? And I'm like, sure, I love this. This is within my wheelhouse. But what I realized is when I would start doing all these interviews that were specific to getting over your fear of the camera or going live on Facebook or all these things, which I do teach, what I realized was my messaging was really specific to social media speaking. And my offer is, how do you speak on all kinds of stages? Get your messaging down, use guest stages. Yes, use your stages. But the speaking on lives and Instagram stories was such a minute point. I don't want people to know me as the person to help you get over your fear of the camera. Like that's not what my program is about, even though I have episodes around it. Like the messaging, while it was a good, relevant topic, it wasn't core messaging that's going to drive back to my program, Speak Up to Level Up. I mean, it's a lesson in my program, but it's not the core concept. So I think a lot of times this thing that happens is we're like, oh, it's within the wheelhouse. Well, you have to think about, is it like a neighbor down the block in your content, or is it like on the block, like on your street in the house that you're trying to attract people to?
Wow. That's so important. Okay. I'm just going to take a little left-hand turn tangent here. Yes, as we are all diving into, or as many people as or possibly can, we're driving into Clubhouse, for example. I just at the recording of this hosted a welcome event room for a bunch of women entrepreneurs last night. And they were all asking, what should I be talking about in these rooms? And I feel grateful now. I didn't totally lead them astray, but it was always coming back to, because I'm obviously not the speaking coach, but it was always back, what do you want to be known for? And I think that this is so exactly important what you said, because there are so many things that we can talk about. I can, talk about a million components of our program as well. in the ways and other things that are like supporting evidence, supporting document, but not that main nugget. So what I'm hearing you say, and what I want all of you guys to hear, is what Heather's saying is that go after what you want to be known for. This is also important why we have your signature program created. So we know what we're selling people into. So it aligns with your program. So so important. And I think that there are so many people that are just looking for any opportunity to get in front of an audience that they are willing to speak on. Oh, I can speak on that. Oh, sure, I can speak on that. And what you're saying is that is not strategy. Let's be very strategic and make sure that in the little amount of time that somebody is willing to give you attention to hear what you have to say, that you are making a good use of that and establishing an understanding of who you are, who your brand is, and in the end results you provide.
Bingo.
So powerful.
And let me give you a visual for that, because I want to make sure people aren't hearing me say, don't ever talk about those things, right?
Okay.
I want you to imagine, do you remember back in, I don't know, some kind of math class when we were in school, something called I think it's called a scattergram. It's like the graph that you would draw with the dots. And it's like when you would have a point, it'd be like all these dots and you'd look for the trends of the dots. Maybe this is a terrible example, but go with me here for a second.
I'm sticking with you. You guys should see behind the scenes in the recording.
So I'm like, about mapping the dots, like mapping different coordinates. What I want you thinking about is you want to map like the bulk of your coordinates, i.e. the bulk of your speaking to your signature offer. But if you have a little dab, like, oop, I'm going to talk about this because it's sexy, or oop, I'm going to talk, like I'll do a room talking about how do you do your voice on Clubhouse? Not what I teach, but it's a sexy topic that people want. Like if my little scattergram, gosh, I hope that's what it's called. If I have like a couple beeps and boops of topics that are outside of my core, that is not going to dilute what I'm known for. It's just going to expand it. But if I spend too much time outside of my core topic, then I will be unforgettable because there's no repetition on my core topic of people seeing over and over again. Oh, I want to speak on guest stages. Heather Sager is a speaking coach for online entrepreneurs. Oh, you want to know how to use speaking strategy? Heather Sager is the coach to help you with that. Like you have to make sure your repetition in your wheelhouse is happening in order to earn the right to have those scattered topics.
Absolutely awesome visual. Thank you so much. I have no idea what you're talking about because frankly, I think I was skipping school and stoned every high school math class. But just keeping it real. But with that being said, I can totally get the visual and that completely makes sense. My teenage boys are going to listen to this podcast and
it's cool. Your mom's super cool. Just go.
Laugh at me. Oh, they've heard all the stories. Okay. I am redeemed. Whew. Anyway, yes, totally makes sense. Okay. So you're going to be unforgettable the closer you stay to what I'm hearing you say, the core, the center of that scattergram, like the primary message. So powerful. Super, super awesome. All right. So step number one is like, we're still on step number one, you guys. This is how gold the information that Heather is giving you here. So nailing that message and deciding what we're talking about. So the second step in that is obviously an extension of that. The second step you say is creating the actual signature talk itself. Share a little bit about how to go about doing that.
Yeah. So for those of you who like cooking, I love cooking. Imagine step one is like your mise en place, where you get all your ingredients out and you know what you're going to make. Step two is actually following the recipe to build your delicious food, whatever you're making, your meal. So your signature talk, you're not coming up with random things on the fly. It's strategic because you've already done that homework. So your signature talk needs to guide your audience from where they are to where you want them to go, which doesn't have to be like, haha, I'm going to trick you to buy my program. You need to guide them in their thinking and equip them with the tools to be successful on whatever the transformation they want. Your program just helps them do it faster. So your signature talk, it has to include stories. You have to be speaking to people's beliefs. You have to be hitting that really good balance around insights and awareness and speaking to where they are. But gone are the days where you can just talk about the why fluffy stuff for your whole talk. People hate that. They know when they're being sold or when somebody's bringing fluff. So people in today's market want tangible tips and strategies. So you have to balance your talk with both. How do you provide insights and teach people how to think differently about your topic? You can't skip over that because if you do, when they go back in their business and try to apply it and something's off, you haven't equipped them with the right context for them to be successful, to be able to maneuver it in the context of their business. So you have to teach them how to think, and then you have to give them some tips and strategies. How I recommend people do that is you teach the why, and then you teach the what. And it's going to get a little technical, but I feel like your audience might love it. My format that I follow with people is you go why, what, how. Easy model for a presentation, and you sandwich it with an opening story and a closing story. Like, not rocket science. It's what I work with every client on. Opening story, closing story. In the middle of the sandwich is the what, why, and how. And if you've worked with April and you've been around her world, the what section is essentially your method. So you're almost there. You just need to work on, okay, how do I get this messaging in, and what's the right place to talk about in the how to make people hungry for more. But your signature talk should be like an accordion, where you can deliver your signature talk in 5 minutes because you know your talking points, but you also can expand it and make it, a full day workshop, maybe even a full course, right? So you should be able to know what your talking points are within your signature talk, and that becomes your business card on those guest stages.
And it perfectly segues into purchasing your signature program. And I mean, this is just absolutely the journey that you take people on it, and how you nail and get it and get people really understanding what you do in your zone of genius. Couple of questions for you about the stories. Do you find, and maybe there isn't a right or wrong answer, but I'm just asking the questions I think that possibly your audience is hearing. We should totally do a Clubhouse room on this, like in conjunction with this, with the week we drop this, we should do a Clubhouse room and take Q&A. So that would be so much fun. So talking about really quickly about the stories, are they usually a story about another client, personal stories about how the expert themselves or the leader has overcome? Like, what type of stories? I mean, are we making people cry? Does it depend on the context? When we're talking about stories in general, is there a quicker, seriously, you guys follow us on Clubhouse, because Heather and I are going to do this. I'm just putting her on the spot right now. We're gonna host a Clubhouse room on this. So just join our Clubhouse room, and you can ask your story questions. Go to our Instagram bios. Go to Heather's Instagram bio.
A little teaser. Yeah. Right? The secret to good storytelling is knowing what emotion you want people to feel. That's the key thing. You have to be intentional with the emotions you want to evoke. So for example, when I was working with Tyler McCall last month, we wanted people to feel heart, but we also wanted to laugh. So we did a story about the time he went to forestry camp and was too embarrassed to tell his father that he had to take a dump, so he had to go home. So like, outside of the content, very weird left story about like 11-year-old Tyler. That was one story. But like, you have to catch people off guard, but you have to know what emotions are you going for. And obviously your stories have to have a point. There was a business lesson in that story, I promise you. But
yes, I'm sure there was. Yes.
We're too like on the nose with our stories, where like, I hate this. People's signature story where they're like, let me tell you about my perfectly curated journey, which popped me out in this perfect place to be your expert. No, I think it's bullshit. Your audience is not in the exact same space that you were. You can't say I was in your shoes, because I think it's obnoxious and rude, because you don't know what their shoes are. I think we have to tell our journey stories differently in a more authentic way if we want to attract the kind of clients we want. That's if you want to have, I think, authentic, ethical, meaningful relationships that make impact. You have to tell stories differently than what we've been told with the bro marketing online.
Here's my clapping. There you go. Yeah, yes. Okay, awesome. All right. And we are going to do a Clubhouse room on this. So let me just say, you go to sweetlifepodcast.com/211, which is this episode number. And we will make sure there is a link to how you can get into this Clubhouse room and ask Heather your questions. Also follow us both on Instagram, because we'll post our events on our Instagram's accounts too. Heather, what's your IG handle?
At the Heather Sager.
At the Heather Sager. Awesome. Okay. So step number 3, we've nailed this signature talk. We are on a roll. What happens next? What's the next most important thing?
Okay. So I think as entrepreneurs, we get by a lot by writing things out and typing things in our Google Docs to post on our blogs or whatever else. But if you want to speak, you actually have to speak, which means the first time that you speak your signature talk out loud should not be on a stage. It should be in the privacy of your home office, where you can sound like a blubbering idiot, because you will. So step number 3 is becoming magnetic with our delivery skills. So you have to learn how to speak in a way that's captivating and entertaining that serves your audience. Gone are the days where you can just show up and shoot a video on something good, on a how-to. People's attention spans are short. Even at live events or like on Clubhouse, people can jump in and out of rooms quickly. So you have to understand that your delivery skills, it's not just the words you say, how you say it matters more. So you have to think about, am I speaking in just audio right now? Or do I have video? When it comes to communication, there's three parts: the words that you say, how you say those words, and your nonverbals. And I think people put the disproportionate weight on those. What it works out to, studies that came from Southern California universities in the 70s show that in marketing, when we're talking about things that have an emotional message, which most of our marketing messaging does, 55% of what we communicate is our nonverbals. So our facial expressions, our gestures, with our posture, over half of what we communicate, which is why video is so powerful in allowing us to see, oh, she's authentic or she's not. Video is powerful because you see those. But 38% of what we communicate is the how we say it, the intonation, the pace, the volume, the emphasis, those kinds of things. It's 38%, leaving only 70% of our communication to our words. Now, as online entrepreneurs, we're used to writing, we're used to emails, we're used to captions, we're used to putting all the weight there. So it's scary to think, oh crap, I have to focus on these others. But I see it as a gift. You don't have to be so precious with your words when you're speaking. In fact, I screw up all the time. If you rewind this back, I have misspoken. I've strung words together, didn't actually make a sentence. I speak like horrible all the time, wrong words, whatever. You just keep moving because your energy, how you deliver it, and your body language carries you and your message. So if you don't get intentional with how do you want to be received, what kind of energy do you want to create for other people? What do you want them to feel when they hear you, see you, listen to you? If you don't practice that, you're leaving it to chance. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to leave to chance what people say about me. Like I want to be intentional and be like, damn, I want to work with Heather, or, oh, you need a speaking coach that's going to help you bring your energy up. Work with Heather. Like I want to be more intentional. I don't want to like be caught up and obsessed with what people say about me, but I know I can influence it. So I say, why not?
Yeah, that's amazing. Those stats are very interesting. I had not personally heard those before. So super, super surprising. And then step number 4. Okay. So how do we go about wrapping all this up together? And this is your Speak for Authority method. This is your unique IP, your methodology. You have gotten people results going through this process, going through these steps time and time again. So wrapping this up, what's that last really important thing that people need to do?
Yeah. So building your authority means you need to make sure that your speaking strategy fits your strategy that you've outlined. So if you determine that speaking is going to grow your authority, you have to say, okay, what podcast stages do I need to be on? Which live events do I need to be on? Who do I need to partner? How do you identify the right players in your industry to help position you in that way? If your strategy was to grow your leads, all right, in this stage, we're going to make sure the freebie that you offer on stages correlates with your signature talk. So it's not just a one-off like, oh, go take my random free training about something that's not what I'm talking about. You're not going to drive that. So that's where we're going to talk about how do we get results from our speaking determined by the strategy that you identified as your number one. So making money, if that's negotiating a higher fee, great. If that's selling your program, great. If that's driving leads, great. Like it's kind of a pick your own pathway. There you have to figure out what strategy you want for you. And then we have the template to say, okay, how do I make that happen from a stage?
Fantastic. How powerful is this, you guys? All right, let me make sure that I can summarize your 4 steps as clearly as possible, because there was so much gold throughout this process. So your Speak for Authority method that you just laid out like a red carpet here. I mean, this is gold, you guys. You would have had to pay Heather a lot of money to get this information. And so make sure that you're connecting with her more, both on Clubhouse, and we're going to give you some ways to work with Heather after this. So the first part of your method is really nailing your message. The second part is really creating that signature talk. The third is delivering it with confidence. And the fourth part of your method is elevating your authority. Did I summarize that correctly?
You did great. You did great. High fives and applause for your articulation.
Good student. Good student. You guys should see my notes behind the scenes. I'll just share personally, public speaking has just always been something that I love to do. And once I get up there and once I get a roll, I'm great. but it is such a head trip for me to get up there in the beginning of it. And my biggest fear, I tried to figure out what I was afraid of, because clearly I talk all the time. I'm not afraid to speak, right? And I really don't care what people think about what I look like. I'm, one of the few speakers that usually takes the stage in some sort of flip-flops. But what I realized I was afraid of is that people were going to leave that room. And this is when we were having, regular events, that people were going to leave that room unchanged. And I realized that, wow, what if somebody says that was the biggest waste of an hour I ever spent? And it scared the shit out of me, seriously, forever, because I was like, gosh, I just want people to leave here and have some sort of a transformation. And I was taking that. I'm really an advocate for that, as you know, like that's how we develop programs. Your program should deliver a transformational, measurable result. And I wasn't really sure that my signature talk was doing that. And so if you guys are listening and you have whatever issues, like Heather said it in the beginning, people would rather die than speak on stage. What is that saying in the beginning?
Yeah, it's like the Jerry Seinfeld joke around more people would rather give the eulogy or be in the coffin than give their own eulogy.
Right. That is awful. We were all given a voice for a reason. We're all called to do great things for a reason, and using what Heather told you guys today in this show, and her method is going to help you get clarity on all of this. And I'm super excited and appreciate your expertise and your time here today on the Sweet Life podcast. So we're going to do a couple of things to wrap up this episode. First of all, Heather has a way to get you started. Obviously, we want to give you tools to take action right now. So Heather, where do people go to learn more about working with you directly?
Yeah. So the Speak for Authority method we talked about today, I outlined this in a little bit more detail and at a little slower pace. If you want to head over, my free training is up right now. If you head over to heathersager.com/free, you can download that free training. You can watch it right away and go through it. And I teach you how to actually use this method to start driving leads into your program. So you can grab that now. It's really designed for coaches, course creators, and small business owners who do not have a large following, but want to start establishing themselves as authority. So that's perfect for you. But also, if today's conversation was of interest and you're trying to figure out what kind of stages would even work for me, like how does this even play out? I think maybe we should go on a second date. So maybe let's not jump into a training. Let's go on a second date. So I have a podcast. It's also on that page, heathersager.com/free. You'll have two options. The podcast is the Heather Sager Show, and you get like a little best of playlist that you can hear a little bit more around how I speak. You can get used to my style a bit, steal it, use it for your own, and start getting more comfortable with this concept of what does it look like to speak on other people's stages, but also use daily opportunities to exercise your voice, build your confidence, and most importantly, be more intentional with your message that you want to share so you can make a bigger impact.
I love it. Okay, so I'm looking at my phone here. If you guys are watching the video behind the scenes, looking at the schedule, this show is live on January 25th. It is episode number 211. So that means sometime this week, you and I are going to host a Clubhouse room, and we are going to implement and talk to our audience and answer questions for people that are listening to this show. So if you're listening, I'm so excited too. We've been talking about doing rooms together. So here is how you find out when this room is happening. First of all, you can go to sweetlifeco.com/clubhouse, and you'll get a list of events and the direct link to the event so that you guys won't miss it, because Clubhouse has a lot of fun things happening. If you are not on Clubhouse, then listen to my podcast that I recorded, episode number 209, about how to get started on Clubhouse. And really, I just want you guys just to take a second here. Like me, I do have many notes. If you feel like you are struggling to be seen as a leader in your space, that you really want to connect with people on a more personal, relational level, relationships sell. That's what sells. And you want to get in front of your ideal audience and give them an experience, transform them through your speaking so that they can work with you more. I highly recommend speaking in general, but specifically hitting up Heather to see how you can do that more confidently. So Heather, thank you so much for being on this show. So much gold. Again, this is sweetlifepodcast.com/211. So episode number 211. We'll have all the links that Heather mentioned because we dropped a lot of gems in this. So all the links so you can find Heather and work with her more. And of course, a link to our Clubhouse room when we get that scheduled. Awesome.